The comments buzz, your fans agree. We're all here for your energy. A loyal crowd, you're ahead of the game. So here's my thanks from me to you for all the fun and wisdom too. Keep creating, stay the same. Vicki Marie, you've won the game.
Hey, it's me, Vicki Marie. Finally, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Let me know where you're watching from in the chat, because of course, wherever you are, that'll depend. If you're all in different places, you'll be celebrating New Year at different times. I believe there's quite a lot of places have already celebrated New Year, haven't they? 2026. Well, we'll be celebrating the Spanish New Year and the British New Year. I can't celebrate all of them, stay up for all of them, but yeah, so I'm all prepared. So of course I'm in Spain, so we'll be celebrating the Spanish New Year first. That's only an hour to go, actually. It's very quiet at the moment. The reason why I'm late coming on is it's been talk about Twonk of the Year. For Twonk of the Year, I want to nominate the people that have been in my street throwing off fireworks already. All the dogs have been barking, you know, so it's quiet at the moment, but of course it won't be for long. So expect some dog barking in this video. Currently, all the dogs are out of the way, but at some point they'll probably be downstairs. So anyway, so I'm celebrating the Spanish New Year. I'm all prepared. I have my carver, I have my grapes, because we have now, I've cheated this year, completely cheated. I've bought a tin of grapes. They're probably little tiny grapes, no seeds, of course. And yeah, so the tradition in Spain sounds like it's got to, I'll have to, yeah, I'm going to have to drain these off in a minute. The tradition in Spain is as the clock strikes in the big Puerta del Sol in Madrid, as the clock chimes, you're supposed to eat one grape for each chime of the bell. And that's supposed to bring you good luck for the 12 months of the year. So, yeah, I'm going to have to drain off the stuff off. But I have cheated a little bit this year and got the tin of grapes with, there'll be small ones and there've no seeds in them. I've also got on red underwear, though it's not quite red, to be honest, it's burgundy. I must get, I think I probably said last year, I must get some red underwear. But it's near enough red. I mean, I'm not going to show it, but it is near enough red. It's burgundy, it's deep red. That's also the tradition in Spain. New Year's Eve, you're supposed to wear red underwear for good luck. So all these things are what we do in Spain. And I'll be doing all that with you in an hour. We're going to, of course, do the Twonk of the Year. I've got a list, actually, of things that I want to talk about, just in case I forget anything. So, yeah, a late entry for Twonk of the Year are the people that have been going past my house letting off bangers and everything before the New Year's even come in. Also, Twonks of the year are my neighbours who appear to have gone out for New Year and left their dog up on the roof, which is a shame because that dog will be terrified. But anyway, never mind. So let me know, are you in your PJs or are you dressed up for New Year? You know, it was saying on all the, on all the media outlets that more and more people are staying in for New Year, which is a shame in a way, isn't it? You know, when I was young, New Year was a big thing in Manchester. Not so big when I went to Reading, to live in Reading. They didn't seem to celebrate it so much. And then I've always celebrated it here in Spain until COVID. I think a lot of things changed after COVID, didn't it? And then, of course, with the dogs and everything, a lot of people don't go out because of their animals, not only dogs. You know, they get so stressed out, don't they, with the fireworks. A lot of people don't go out because of the cost of living crisis. It could be just freezing, you know, it could be any of these reasons why people don't go out, isn't it? But even young people aren't going out so much, which really is a shame, isn't it? But that's just, life's changed, hasn't it? Probably a lot of people are celebrating like we are, you know, virtually. You know, you could have a party with your family or your friends, couldn't you, on Zoom or whatever. So yeah, the internet's changed our lives as well. I don't know if it's for the better or not. I mean, I've had some really good New Year's Eve parties, you know, but anyway, that's just the way it is. So yeah, a lot of you will be staying in with your PJs on or your nighties or whatever, celebrating it that way. Some people just go to bed at 11 and don't celebrate it at all. So, you know, it's a choice, isn't it? It's not a thing for everybody, is it? And in a lot of ways, of course, it's just another night, New Year's Eve, but it's sort of symbolic, isn't it, really? You always hope that things will get better. Anyway, I've got a few things that I want to talk to you about before I get into saying hello to everyone and everything. So, first of all, I wanted to show you what somebody sent me, and they can say who they are, if they like. I won't give their name unless they want to give it. Yes, somebody's been busy making trifles for New Year's Day tomorrow. I think they're inspired when I made my tiramisu. You know, trifle, my mum always used to make a trifle. I like trifle. I just don't like the sponge in the jelly. I don't know why I don't like it, because I like the sponge in the tiramisu. But when I was a kid, I never liked the sponge bit. And I used to say to Mum, can't you make it without the sponge? I liked all the rest of it. So someone's having nice trifles tomorrow for New Year's Day. Can hear bangers going off now already. Yeah, like rip raps, can hear them. So I just wanted to show you that because they look absolutely yummy. They've still got the cream to go on and the chocolate bits or whatever you want to put on them, isn't it? What else do I want to say? What's that? Show photos. Oh yeah, I wanted to say I had an email from one of our regular chatters, Annie, and I just wanted to give you all a message from her. She's going through some problems at the moment, some of her family that aren't very well, so she can't be with us. So she's normally with us on lives and things, but she wanted to wish you all a happy new year and bless her, and hopefully when things get better again, Annie will be back with us on lives. But she wants you to know she hasn't forgotten about you all. What else? Oh yeah, wanted to talk about something that I saw on X that I thought was a really good idea, which was saying that over the year you should write down every time a good thing happens, you know, because good things do happen, don't they? Maybe not every day, maybe not all the time, but generally good things do happen. Is to write it down, fold it up and put it in a jar like this. So I've got my jar ready, And then at the end of the year, next year, open it up and see all the good things that happened that year that maybe you'd forgotten that happened. So that's a good idea. I think I'm going to do that this year. What was the other thing? So I just want to go. That's why I've written everything down so I didn't forget anything. Oh, yeah, well, I'd like to say a little prayer for Annie, and not only Annie, but anybody else who's got difficult times coming up, because as we know, Christmas, New Year, all these big occasions, they don't respect, you know, trauma or illness or problems. You know, just because it's Christmas doesn't mean all your problems vanish, or just because it's New Year doesn't mean all your problems vanish, does it? So I'm just going to say a little prayer, just a silent prayer, just to say for Annie in particular, but also anybody else, any of you, any of us who are experiencing any kind of problems. And, you know, there's lots of problems, but probably multiple problems. You know, we talked about before, haven't we? Financial problems, health problems, mental health problems, relationship problems, problems with family members, you know, pets. This, you know, it's a wonder how we get through, isn't it? But we do get through, because what we have to do is we just have to get up every day and put one foot in front of the other, don't we? So when times are hard, and I don't mean financially, only financially, I'm talking about when times are hard generally, when you're struggling with anything really, you just have to keep going and try and live in the moment, don't you? So I'm just going to put a candle up there for Annie and anybody else who's, you know, struggling for whatever reason at the moment. Or that's sometimes all you can do is say a little prayer, or send someone your thoughts, or give them a kind word. You know, a lot of the time you can't help people. You know, there is no answer, no sort of, what can I say, no helpful thing you can do, but all you can do is think of them, I suppose, pray for them. You know, it's something, isn't it? And actually, on that note, what I wanted to do was read out, before we get going, sorry, I know I'm waffling, but you know I like a waffle. Where's it gone? Oh, maybe. Oh, there it is. So what I wanted to do, I've read this poem out before on a live, but it's one of my favourite poems, and I think it's good because it's the desiderata, and it's not, you know, I know we're all different religions, probably beliefs that are here in this chat, you know, and this I think just applies to everyone. It's not a denominational prayer. So go placidly amidst the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. And that's difficult, isn't it? But we have to try. I try and remember this. I fail miserably a lot of the time. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than you. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, It is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of you. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. And beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You're a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations. In the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be. Okay, so now I just want to say thank you to everybody who supported me this year in whichever way that they have, by liking, by subscribing. Thank you to any of you that have sent me, let me just put up my people that have sent me PayPals, people that have bought me Ko-fis. Thank you so much. Sent super stickers. And a special thank you, of course, to the members and your patience, because, of course, we didn't have our Thursday members live. We won't be having it this week either. I did do a members live, but it was a bit impromptu last week, and I will do another one at some point this week, whenever. It probably will be, you know, as I say, a bit impromptu. But thank you anyway for supporting me. Special thank you to you lovely lurkers, the people who watch, don't like to talk in the chat. Thank you to Replay. Hope she's not splitting your ears. And thank you even to the trolley dollies, because you know, you trolleys, you are sad people and you do deserve prayers, because you've got nothing better to do than still be watching me just so that you can have a troll. I mean, it's pathetic, but I do feel sorry for you. So very special prayer for you. Okay, now I am going to come into the chat and see who's there. Thank you for joining in the chat. Now, I've talked about, one thing I wanted to show you. Yeah, so this article was actually from last year, from the Daily Mail, but I think it applies this year as well. Just talking about people staying in for New Year. We're staying in for New Year's Eve. Brits proudly refuse to go outside for New Year's Eve celebrations and stay indoors for low-key get-togethers amid storm cancellations and cost of living crisis. So this was last year, but I think it's the same this year. You have a weather warning every year, don't they? And I've got to say, in Spain, the weather's been terrible. But tonight, actually, it is a little bit warmer. It's not raining. It has been terrible weather. Anyway, I was reading that apparently, because the big New Year celebrations are in Madrid, in Spain, and apparently hotel bookings are down 2%. It's not that much, really. I think that might be to do with the weather, because the weather's been terrible. I mean, I'll say it's not too bad today, but it could be because of that. Or, cost of living crisis. You know, people, at the end of the day, if you go out, it costs a lot of money to go out on New Year's Eve, doesn't it? Because they put the prices up for everything. You know, just for a buffet or whatever, you know, you're paying quite a lot of money, aren't you? And I do think people are a bit fed up of that kind of thing. You know, like Christmas dinner out, you pay, if you go for a roast dinner on a Sunday, you don't pay that much. But if you go for a Christmas dinner, which really is only a glorified roast dinner, isn't it? You pay, you know, massive amounts of money. So, yeah, maybe that's why people are staying in more, weather and combined with cost, but also because you can stay in but still socialize. You know, years ago we couldn't do that. If you didn't go out, you didn't socialize, you wouldn't see anybody. So Yeah, so apparently this is what went on last year, but I've been reading that it's exactly the same this year. And even, you know, young people, it's not only old duffers like me, but even young people are not going out like they used to. So I just want to show you. So apparently in Madrid, there's no, you know, here in Spain, they come and collect the rubbish daily. So they're going to have 2 days of not collecting the rubbish. They've got a special cleaning plan going on. I just thought it was interesting because I know, well, you know, I don't know what everybody's who watches what their country's sort of garbage collection is, rubbish collection is. But in Spain, it's daily. And I know certainly in the UK, well, it's about every 2 weeks, isn't it, or whatever. I mean, it just amazes me, really. But anyway, so apparently in Madrid, for 48 hours, the garbage service of the capital will stop working because of the New Year's Eve and New Year's Eve celebrations. So they'll be suspended now. So they won't come tonight. Is it Wednesday today? God, I've lost track of the actual. What day is it today? Is it no? It's Tuesday. Wednesday is New Year's Day, isn't it? Oh God, I've forgotten. No, today's Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. So there's no rubbish collection today, and there's no rubbish collection tomorrow. This is in Madrid. I don't know about in my little village. It might still be the same. But it says the cleaning work will not take long to resume. On the night of January the 1st and 2nd, service will be resumed, with the reinforced with the aim of absorbing the volume of waste generated during the New Year's celebrations. That would definitely be a translation from Google or something. So yeah. So they've asked the cooperation of citizens so that neither neighbours nor merchants deposit waste or remove the buckets of the communities to the public road during these 2 days. So yeah, 2 days. So look, it's a big thing that they're having 2 days without rubbish collection. They are good with the rubbish collection in Spain, I've got to say. You know, it's funny, isn't it? Because there's a lot of things I love about Spain. There's a lot of things that drive me mad about Spain. But one thing that I think would be difficult for me if I ever went back to the UK or whatever is that getting used to the way you do your rubbish collection. You know, so anyway, never mind. I don't want to sort of go on about that. Just thought it was sort of interesting how they were making a story about it, really. You know, about there not being any rubbish collection for 2 days. But yeah, it's good, isn't it? Daily rubbish collection. Suppose that's because it's a hot country. I wonder what it's like in other hot countries. Don't know when that started. And it's funny, you know, because when I came to live in Spain and I was trying to get my dad to come over and visit, and my dad, you know, he was just so old-fashioned. He hated travelling. He hated even leaving the house. You know, he was like, he just wasn't a person who liked to travel. Whereas my mum did like to travel, but she was quite ill by then with dementia, and she had to have a stoma bag. So my dad was paranoid about this stoma bag, and he said, "Oh well, do they have bins in Spain, love?" I'll never forget him saying that. Well, do they have bins? I think he thought I was coming to some sort of, you know, I don't know, African rainforest or something, like, where everybody lived in mud huts, or, you know, he had this really strange idea of sort of what Spain would be like, but he was just so old-fashioned. Yeah, I never forget that. Do they have bins in Spain, love? Because he was worrying about, you know, you know, of my mum's sort of worrying about bringing her over as if it wasn't a modern European country. But anyway, now the first, let's get on with this. Gosh, it'll be the bell soon. Let's get on with this. What am I doing? Stop sharing. Yeah. let's get on with this twonk of the year. So the first person I want to talk about, now that normally I don't talk about other streamers, as you know, about other YouTubers, but this person has been nominated, so I'm going to talk very briefly about him. He's only been nominated by one person, but I said I would discuss everybody who was nominated. So I'm going to put a photo up, though I have blocked out a bit of it. Now, the thing is, you'll either know this person or you won't. I'm not going to mention his name. He actually was nominated for Twonk of the Year, not last year, the year before as well, by somebody else. And if he's watching, please remember, this is a nomination. This doesn't come from, let's have a look. He's been really horrible to a lot of women in the internet and men. He keeps going and coming back and posting photos of women from various communities and has been vile. And then the person did say, if you don't want to put him on, I understand. But no, I put him up. He's been nominated. He's a horrible person. I know he's a horrible person. He's been very nasty about me years ago, 2 years ago. So, yeah, there you go. You've been nominated. Only one nomination, though. So he's not going to win Twonk of the Year. But, he'd probably be disappointed in that, to be honest. Okay, where am I going next? Let's have a look at my Twonk list. Yes, now somebody nominated, I'm not going to show a picture of them. I'm going to show, I've got a picture of, somebody nominated the killers of Sarah Sharif. Now, we did talk about them last year, but I thought it'd be good. So somebody's nominated them. And to be honest, I think it's a good thing. Not so much to mention them, the twonks that did what they did to Sarah. Let's put her picture up. Just to remember Sarah, because, it's a shame, isn't it? Because victims, that we talk about, there has been justice for Sarah. She, of course, this lovely little girl I think she just gave up in the end because of a long history of abuse from her father, her stepmother, and her uncle. And her little body just literally gave up, I think, in the end, just couldn't take any more. And although her father, of course, cried and made all, showed all that remorse that supposedly he showed. He was only remorseful because she died, and it meant he was going to get into trouble for it now, wasn't he? I mean, he didn't care about Sarah. If he would have cared about her, he would never have done what he did to her. But I think it's important to remember Sarah, because, as I say, the sad thing is Sarah's been frozen in time. She'll never grow up, bless her. Even though, as I say, they've got quite long sentences, and it's good they're in prison where they should be, but it doesn't bring Sarah back, doesn't it? Doesn't give her back the life that she should have had. And she had a miserable life for the few years that she was on this earth, because she was abused all that time and mistreated, but she still kept a smile on her face. This poor little girl. Hello, baby. The dog should come say hello to me now. Killed and abused and then died at the hand of the people that should have cared about her. And interestingly enough, her stepmother now is in prison, apparently, with Lucy Letby, and they've become friends. Surprised nobody nominated Lucy Letby, to be honest. I know a lot of people seem to think she's innocent. I'm not one of those people. For me, she's as guilty as anything. But, we all have our views, don't we? But it just seems appropriate to me that this horrible woman would end up being friends with Lucy Letby, another horrible woman. But So there's one nomination as well that they received one nomination. Okay, okay? Now then, next one. Yeah, now there's quite a few twonks, but we've had a lot of justice this year in the crime world, I think. You know, long sentences for people getting life without parole. And 3 other people were mentioned: Stefan Stearns, Brian Koberger, and Richard Allen. They've all sort of had a nomination, but just one nomination. Let's just talk about, not about them necessarily. Hi, Plink, oh God, for 2 sips of kava, that's it. Pink fluffy rabbits. Hi. So let's have a look. We want to remember that it gives us an opportunity to remember their victims. This is the important thing, isn't it? So one, of course, Richard Allen. Richard Allen. These ones that these 3 we're going to talk about now: Brian Koberger, Richard Allen, and Stefan Stearns. They have you know, gone into the hellhole, and the only reason I'm talking about them now is because they've, you know, been nominated. But also, again, gives us an opportunity to talk about the victims, because these victims, they sort of get forgotten, don't they, in the end? We don't want them to be forgotten, because Richard Allen, he's been given, was it 140 years or something? I mean, he's never coming out of prison, is he? Which is good. But, you know, we still need to remember Libby and Abby, don't we? So this, of course, was the Delphi murders. These 2 girls, best friends, got dropped off by, was it Abby's sister or Libby's? I think it was Libby's sister, dropped them off. Libby's the one on the right-hand side. Dropped them off at like a national park trail place. God, I can't remember. In Delphi, I can't remember where it is. It's the Delphi murders. And when their dad went to pick them up, one of their dads went to pick them up later on that day, unfortunately, they weren't there. And they had to, you know, they were found the next day, and they had been savagely red-rummed. And this is the man who did it. And luckily, Libby, very clever girl, she had taken a video of this man walking across there's like a bridge there in the Delphi. Yeah, one of the clerks at the police station was going over all the sort of statements and that, and you know, it's coincidence really that he ever got brought to justice, but anyway, he did in the end. So okay, so that's that one. Anyway, I've got my 12 grapes there. Just make sure I've got some kava in my glass, and then I'm ready, because don't forget, yeah, it is now 14 minutes to midnight here in Spain. All right, let me just check on the chat, make sure you're all okay. Yeah, I think you're all okay. Hi, Lily Paulie. Right, I've got, ooh, they do feel slimy, these grapes. I'm not happy with them. Anyway, maybe they'll just slide down. Maybe they'll be easier to eat, because it's not easy eating 12 grapes. Yeah, it looks like they're all getting ready in Rome there. I think we've got time for one more discussion. So that's him. Now, of course, there are still quite a lot of people who think that Richard Allen is innocent, but he's not. He's not innocent. Of course, including his wife. His wife, bless her, and I do feel for his wife. She just cannot accept, you know, because we watched the interviews. I don't know if you remember, if you were watching with me. We watched him being interviewed, and then his wife came in and she was like, oh, you know, and he was just lying to her unashamedly. But anyway, that's that. We've talked about that. Now, the next person I want to talk about, again, I don't want to talk about the person themselves. I want to talk about the victim. This, of course, is Madeleine Soto. And I'd like to say we had justice for Madeleine. In a way we did. Stefan Stearns, I'm not going to show his photo. He's the person who did it, of course. But we still don't know exactly what happened, because Stefan Stearns has sort of escaped justice, it feels to me, because he pled no contest. So this was Maddie, and she was, turned out, she had been sex abused for years, probably since she was 8 years old, because Stefan Stearns had all these photos and videos on his phone, didn't he? And he is a complete thicko who thought that if he did a factory reset on his phone, the police would not find all these videos. And we saw his humiliation as well when he was stripped and arrested, and it was good to see him being humiliated. Now, you know, I'm really torn with this case, because I'm glad there wasn't a trial. In one way, because it would have been awful for Maddie's memory, because during the trial then all those videos and that he had on his phone of poor Maddie would have been shown in court, wouldn't they? So I'm glad that didn't happen. But it just seems he's never had to say, you know, exactly what happened. We still don't know exactly what happened. He said, you know, he's trying to make out he didn't kill her, but he obviously did kill her. She was strangled, wasn't she? So how can he say, you know, how can he make any excuses? But he's not, because he's pled guilty. So, yeah, so this is very sad for me, because although it's good that he's got life without parole, hasn't he? But he escaped the death penalty with his plea deal. And we'll never get to know, you know, he hasn't had to say exactly what he did, and he killed her, but he's not sort of admitted it really, because he's pled no contest, which is not the same as pleading guilty, is it? So it's a shame. Anyway, he's had one nomination. So, as you can see, it is now New Year's Day, because unfortunately I had to abort the live last night because of the fireworks. The dogs were inconsolable, and I couldn't even speak above the noise anyway, and they went on for a long time, didn't they? So I'm continuing now with the Twonk of the year. Okay, so the next person we're going to talk about, or I say more his victims that we're going to talk about, is the Idaho 4, as have become known, of course. This was a terrible crime. We saw the justice for it. Again, did we see the justice for it? Because although Brian Kohberger, he did plead guilty, of course, which, as we were saying, similar in the Stefan Stearns and Madeleine Soto case. It's good that he pled guilty, he spared the family, the trial, etc. But also, you do feel that it feels a bit like he's sort of sat there, he's pled guilty. Nobody knows still why he did this. Why did he do it? It's unclear, isn't it? All the motives are unclear, etc. So I don't know how the family feel about the fact that he confessed. So, pled guilty, so they didn't have to go through a trial, these horrible injuries that he caused to these 4 young people. And this is Madison Mogan, of course, Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, and Zana Knodel. And the person who did it was Brian Koberger, but I don't think we're any further on really as to why he did it. There's a lot of speculation that one of the girls in the middle there may have been the primary target, and the others were like collateral damage. It just seems a bit extreme, doesn't it, to go into a house and murder 4 people just to get at one. He's another person who thought he was really clever, but of course he wasn't. He was quite easily found, really. At the time people were saying, oh, it's terrible, the police haven't found anyone responsible for this, and then boom, suddenly they arrested Brian, and it turned out that they knew quite quickly, really, it was him. It was just a question, as always, of gathering evidence. And the person who did this, of course, was Brian Koberger. I'm not going to show a photo of him. He's gone into the hellhole. 28 years old. He was studying criminology at university. Just, strange, isn't it? At the age of 28, just go out and do that. He was finally found guilty not found guilty, pled guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary, because he literally walked into their home and did this. And this, of course, was in Moscow in America. So the reason that, of course, Brian pled not guilty was to avoid the death penalty, because they were going for the death penalty in this case, and I think they would have been quite likely to get the death penalty. He tried with different explored avenues, that it was to do with autism, or it was this, or it was that. Anyway, I think as soon as it became clear that he was heading towards a death penalty, that's when he decided to plead guilty, and he's been sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences in prison without the possibility of parole, and 10 years for burglary. So he's not coming out, is he? Which, of course, again, as we say in every case, is not consolation in a way. Is a sort of a cold comfort, isn't it, that he won't come out, because these 4 beautiful people, young people, with all their lives in front of them, they won't, their families haven't had them there at Christmas this year, New Year. So Brian is somebody else who's been nominated in the Twonk of the Year competition. Only 1 nomination, though, so he's not going to be the Twonk of the Year, but 1 nomination. Okay, so moving on. Where are we now? We're building up quite quickly now to sort of the nitty-gritty, the people that got the most votes. I just want to add a couple of votes of my own. These were not nominated. I can't believe nobody nominated Donald Trump. It's just this year, I think Donald, even people who like him or liked him, have been outraged by some of the things he's done this year. Just the way he reacted after Rob Rayner was murdered, the way he's reacted after one of the JFK family died just a couple of days ago. He's just putting his name on things that, weren't. I mean, he's just acting like some sort of tyrant, or and he's got no grace. He never says anything nice. I don't know. He's just horrible. Every opportunity is just to be nasty to other people. And just a vile man, in my opinion, and getting viler, you know. And the one thing that I thought maybe he might be able to sort out, which was peace in Gaza and peace in Ukraine, he hasn't sorted out, has he? Maybe it'll happen soon. They're hoping for that in the new year. Let's hope so. But, you know, remember he said that he would sort these things out within a couple of days. Netanyahu, I haven't got a picture of him. I can't put a picture of him up. I can't even bear to look at him. He's even worse. He's another one, in my opinion, that could have won Twonk of the Year quite easily, or at least been nominated. The Andrew, formerly known as Prince, you know, where's he spent his Christmas and New Year? With his family, with the royal family, I'm sure. You know, they can say what they like. He's not going to face any charges, or it's not looking likely. The royal family have protected him. They could all be Twonks of the Year as far as I'm concerned. They're all just birds of a rotten feather stick together. They're only pretending to distance themselves from him because they're, you know, worried about themselves. It's nothing to do with the victims. They don't care about the victims. You know, they've got a history of associating with paedophiles. And to be honest, Jimmy here, he's only one. Here, of course, is the infamous photo that started it all. And another person who could easily have been nominated for the Twonk of the Year is Epstein. But we have to remember, you know, Epstein is dead and he's been dead for years. They're constantly saying, you know, how awful he is, and every bit of information that comes out just proves even more how truly awful he was. But at the end of the day, he is dead. He went to prison and he supposedly unalived himself, which, you know, if you believe that, it doesn't seem very likely, does it? But anyway, maybe he did. But to me, the whole point is it doesn't matter anymore in the sense of he, as far as his justice is concerned, he's dead. What about the others? This is what's driving me mad about this whole thing. What about Andrew, formerly known as Prince, who doesn't sweat? And that was part of his reason why it couldn't have been him who abused this poor girl. This is Virginia Giuffre, you know, back in the day when she was young. Well, she was still young when she sort of left this world. Another one, supposedly by her own hand. 41, still young when she left the planet, even though she had this book coming out. And yeah, you know, it all feels wrong, doesn't it? So my question is, and I keep saying it, and I will carry on keep saying it, where are the other prosecutions? There's no point keep talking about a man who's already, you know, he was already in prison and now he's gone years ago, to be honest. What about the people that are still walking this planet and living their life? You know, like this one was supposed to believe he's been punished because he's lost his prince title, but he's still living in, you know, luxury, still got royal protection, the royal family. There's no way you won't have spent Christmas and New Year with Charlie Boy, Shamilla, or whoever. Willie, Prissy, Kate, they're all the same. All they're interested in is their own protection. They don't care about the girls. They don't care about any of the victims. They just care about preserving their position. And I think the deal that's probably been made with Andrew is, yes, we'll keep you from prison, which is exactly where he should be. We'll keep you from prison, but just don't, you know, dob us in it. That's my personal opinion. Andrew knows where the bodies are buried for the royal family, doesn't he? So, you know, I expect there's been a few talks like that. about, well, yeah, you know, yeah, we've got to take the title away from you. Yeah, you've got to downgrade your mansion that you live in. Blah, de, blah, de, blah. But don't say any more about, you know, but we'll make sure you don't go to prison. This will be the conversation that's gone on. Yeah, most definitely. So I would personally, I just want to include them in the Twonks of the year. Andrew, Jeffrey, Donald, of course, he's in it up to his neck, but well, will we ever get the full story? Will anyone ever be held to account? That is the question. Anybody else? Because, of course, we've got Ghislaine. She could be Twonk of the year as well. She's at least in prison, though doesn't, you know, she's in an open prison. How long will she be in there for? So I just wanted to bring them up because I think they've been big stories of the year. Now there've been a few sort of late, a couple of things that happened sort of in December. Nobody's nominated them as Twonks, but I just want to bring them up. This is such a sad story, isn't it? The story of Rob and his wife Michelle, and it looks like it's their own son Nick who has done this, who brutally murdered them just before Christmas. I'm sure he'll be in the Twonk of the year next year when things become clearer about it. We don't have he hasn't even pled yet. Still a sort of developing story. And the other person, the other awful thing, I mean, there's lots of awful things, isn't there? But just ones that I want to highlight is Melody Buzzard's mum, Ashley, who allegedly executed this little girl, shot her in the head, 9 years old, her own mother, for reasons that we're not really quite sure of yet, probably just because she couldn't be doing with it anymore or couldn't be bothered, or I don't know. We don't know, because again, she's been arrested. She's pled not guilty. Just unbelievable. But, you know, quite often people plead not guilty because that's the advice of the lawyers. And then as time goes on and it gets closer to the trial, this is, of course, what happened with Stephen Stearns and what happened with Brian Kohlberger. When it comes closer to the trial, then they change the plea, don't they? Often, if the evidence is overwhelming, this might be what happens in Ashley Buzzard's case. You know, then of course she may not change the plea. Richard Allen did not change his plea. You know, his defence team tried to create so much distraction. I'm sure they thought there might be a chance that he would get off, but luckily he didn't. The jury saw through it, didn't they? So I'm sure there'll be ones that are, you know, as the stories unfold. Another one, of course, is this case of Celeste Rivas and David, the singer, who supposedly, he's still not been arrested, but supposedly will be arrested soon. These are ones that will probably feature more in next year's Twonk of the Year. And then this Anna Kepner, this is a story that we're following, isn't it? Allegedly choked by her stepbrother, but he's around and about, walking free. He's not been charged. So we don't know, but I'm sure by next year, hopefully by next year, things will become clearer. And of course, there's lots of other cases we're following. Little Jack and Lily. There's been a little development there. I'm going to do a video about that later. Not really a development, but you know, law enforcement speaking positively that they're going to resolve this case. And then, of course, another case that's ongoing at the moment is little Gus. Where is little Gus? Will we know by next year what happened to him? And the thing is, these cases, very mysterious cases of these missing children, Jack and Lily and Gus, which have got a lot of similarities, I think, may not be anything to do with foul play. So we might not be looking at Twonk of the Year in these cases. The police are still saying in both cases that it seems like the children wandered off, just disappeared, Jack and Lily and Gus, from their remote properties. Gus was living on the most remote property in Yunta, Australia, playing on a mound of sand 1 minute and then gone the next, apparently. And Jack and Lily, very similar, playing in the garden, though they were supposed to be in the house or in the trailer, and then just disappeared into the woods, supposedly, but nothing's been found as yet. So despite, extensive searches in both cases, in both Jack and Lily's case and in Gus's case, very extensive searches, and no sign of these little ones so far. Will New Year bring answers? Let's hope so. It seems unlikely in both cases that those poor children are alive unless they have been abducted, but seems unlikely that they've been abducted. But that's the only chance, really, that they may still be alive. How awful. How awful for the families, to be thinking that it's almost praying that your child has been abducted, because that would mean there was a chance that you might see them again. Because if not, if they really were wandering around these wild places, in the woods in Jack and Lily's case, or in that very expansive sort of sheep station, as far as Gus was concerned, they can't be alive because they can't have lasted all this time. They're both cases now. It's been a long time since they went missing. I think Gus probably 2 months or something, and Jack and Lily went missing back in May. So I think, let's just check. I'm pretty sure they did. Long time ago, so they can't possibly be alive unless they've been abducted or taken away somewhere. And of course, in both those cases, because they're so mysterious, there's a lack of information from law enforcement, because really there's nothing to say nothing that they can say. I'm sure if they could give information, they would. But, in the lack of official information, rumours always swirl, don't they? So, okay, let's get to the nitty gritty now of the Twonk of the Year. Now, I was thinking it may end up being sort of where you couldn't pick a clear winner, but there is a clear winner, if you like. Loser, winner, whichever way you look at it. So we're going to look at the runner-up first. The person who got the second most amounts of votes was this absolute POS, Travis Decker. Travis Decker took these are his 3 daughters, and he took them, went and picked them up for an organised sort of custody appointment that he had one Saturday evening. He was allowed to have them for a couple of hours. He went and picked them up from the mother, Whitney, and the poor mother of these girls had told the courts, so she had to hand them over. This was a court order, and she had to hand them over. She did not have a choice, but she had told the authorities. I'm just going to get the dates up because I can't remember the exact dates of when it happened. Yeah. So on May the 30th this year, or last year, of course, now, because we're in 2026 now. So these 3 sisters, Peyton, Evelyn and Olivia Decker, and their ages were 9, 8 and 5. And this happened up in Wenatchee in Washington. And as I say, Travis went to pick them up. He was supposed to bring them back a couple of hours later. He did not turn up. And again, as I say, Whitney had told the courts he was not in, a good frame of mind psychologically, but she could not. Just the thought of having to, pass off your children, hand over your children to someone that is not quite, firing on all cylinders at the moment, suffering some sort of depression or whatever was going through this Twonk's head. But I suppose even so, you would not think in a million years that the father of these children could do what he did to them, which basically it seems he drove them to a national park. Which national park was it? Let's have a look. Chelan County. The police found, so when he didn't bring them back, of course, Whitney reported it to the police. The police were looking for him, and they found his truck abandoned in a national park, and found the bodies of these 3 girls who had been, very cruelly killed. You just can't even think about it, because did they see their sisters being killed? If your mind wanders to how it happened, they were suffocated with plastic bags tied around their head. I mean, it was ridiculous, like cruel, just unfathomable. Gosh, I can't even say it. Unfathomable to the rest of us, how he could do that to the girls that he was supposed to love, because he had been said, Whitney had said that he was a good dad. Anyway, initially he left his dog alive, though, just to put that note in. His dog was at the scene. The dog was alive. The dog will be suffering from some sort of trauma. Anyway, and then he disappeared. So that put in place this sort of massive manhunt. It went on for 3 months that the police were looking for this man all around the national park there. There were false sightings of him. There were, what these manhunts end up like. But I always thought, right from day one, he would be round about there somewhere. You couldn't imagine that he would go far. There was talk that he might have crossed the border to go to Canada. He might have started a new life somewhere. And of course, these sort of rumours, if you like, or speculations were exacerbated by the fact there were a couple of false sightings of him. But, people, they're doing their sort of with the best will in the world when they think they see someone like this. But then the police have to investigate that, and it turns out to be nothing, and police are back to the drawing board again. Anyway, the police carried on, excuse me, looking for him. They didn't give up. And in the end, the breakthrough came, apparently, when they sort of employed a forensic psychologist to give them some insight as to where Travis might have gone to. Now, we haven't had the full details of what that person said, but very shortly after that woman was contracted to help, Travis's remains were found. And so, apparently it was very good, the way the forensics, they need to do that more often, don't they? Because these manhunts, a forensic psychologist has helped find Travis Decker. They found remains, which when they were tested, turned out to be Travis's remains. Now, he'd picked them up at 5 p.m. the day before the girls were found, and he was supposed to return them at 8 p.m. Just imagine poor Whitney's feelings as she realised he wasn't coming back, as 8 p.m. arrived and went, and then 9 p.m. and then 10 p.m. and then finally, or whenever she had to call the police, very, very, poor Whitney. I hope she finds a way to cope with it. That's the mother. Just, you just don't know how she's going to cope with it, but she's got to, I suppose. What choice does she have? And this seems to be a crime of vengeance, like, because she wanted to. It's one of those cases of, well, if I can't have them, then you're not having them either. Before this awful thing happened, Travis apparently had asked Whitney to get that together, and she refused. And it seems to me, it just seems like he did it just to hurt her, and he's left her alive. Because that's crueler in a way, isn't it? He could have killed all of them, I suppose. But to leave Whitney alive so that she's got to suffer every day for the rest of her life, knowing that what this man did to her children, and she had to hand them over to him, just must be intolerable. So my heart just goes out to her so much, and it just makes him even more cruel, isn't it? So yeah, now Travis was nominated by a lot of people. I've got only two gave their reasons. So one said, it's hard to put into words how heinous this Twonk's crime was. To murder those three beautiful angels is beyond comprehension. And then he removed himself from the world. Yeah, so he took justice into his own hands, didn't he? I'm sure he's facing justice somewhere, hopefully spinning in hell. He's gone into the hellhole as far as this channel's concerned. But he took himself away from justice, from facing people, facing what he'd done. But he won't face justice. He won't escape justice in the next world. I'm 100% certain about that. There's got to be a price that you have to pay for doing something as heinous as this. There's got to be, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Anyway, they went on to say, poor Whitney, may she find the strength to live on. I don't know how you can live on without your children. And then somebody else said, Travis Decker, for the callous murder of three little angels, and to punish his wife for not taking him back. And if she had, she most certainly would have ended up a victim herself. I think that's true. I don't think it would have made any difference if she did take him back, as this man had murder in his mind. He had murder in his mind. And as soon as something went wrong again, would he have done it anyway? Maybe took all of them with him. I don't know. We can't know what a twonk like this thinks in their head. We don't want to know, because if we could understand it, we'd be twonks as well, wouldn't we? So, we're all twonks up to some extent. None of us are perfect, but we don't want to understand this man's mind, really, except to maybe if we could help it not happen to somebody else. That'd be the only reason, isn't it? Okay, so let's have a drum roll, because we're coming up to... Have I got a drum roll somewhere? I'm sure I've got a drum roll somewhere. Yeah. Who's the winner going to be? So someone who got overwhelming number of nominations, and would definitely be one of my nominations as well, is, of course, the horrible person that is Erin Patterson. And, well, even though she admitted that she'd told many, many lies, didn't she? said that she'd had cancer when she didn't. She'd told lies. She said she didn't have her food dehydrator, but she did. Said she'd never been foraging for wild mushrooms, but she had. You know, her lies were unlimitless. And when it came to her court case, of course, even though she told all those lies, as far as she said, when it came to her court case, she was telling the truth. And Erin had 3 victims who died. Here we have Don, Gail, and Heather. And of course, Ian, Heather's husband, who did survive. So, yes, poor Don, Gail, and Heather did not survive what Erin did to them, which, of course, this is the mushroom murderess. Her crime is particularly heinous. All these people that we talk about, anybody who kills anybody, of course, is awful. And Travis Decker, you know, to kill his 3 children. But I think this case is especially heinous, isn't it? Because it was so planned. It was so planned. Erin, no, I don't even have to say allegedly now, do I? Erin Patterson has been found guilty, although she will be appealing. She is appealing against her sentence, which I think is a bloody cheat, because she's actually has got she's got life, but she has got possibility of parole. What was it, in 30 odd years or something like that? And she's lucky to get that, because what Erin did, she went out, foraged some death cap mushrooms, which are mushrooms that will kill you. And she looked into that. It was proven by her sort of data on her phone and the searches that she'd done. She'd bought a dehydrator to dehydrate the mushrooms, and she put them in a beef Wellington, of all things, which has like a mushroom sauce in it, if you like, or mushroom part of the recipe is, so you've got like the beef, then it's surrounded in a mushroom paste, and then the pastry. And this woman, she planned it all. They were relatives of her ex-husband, Simon. Well, not ex, actually, estranged husband, Simon. And he was also invited to this dinner. And luckily for him, he didn't go, but I'm still not sure why the others went, because it then has turned out since that, in fact, it seems that Erin Patterson tried to kill Simon on several occasions that Erin gave her estranged husband food that she'd prepared, and he was severely ill. Once he was in hospital. You know, so why, I'm not really quite sure why there must, to me, these people, her, as I say, her extended family, because this was her estranged husband's mother and father and aunt and uncle, I think they were, you know, very sort of simple people who they were God-fearing people. They believed in, you know, that one of them was a pastor, still is, the one that survived Ian by miracle, and he had to have a transplant. I think they're just trusting people. They probably never would have imagined that Erin would do anything to them. And I think why, so there's a couple of reasons why I think Erin got the most votes for Twonk of the Year. Including, you know, from me, because although what Travis Decker, he's like the close runner-up, isn't he? What he did was so terrible, but for Erin, again, it's vulnerable people that she did it to, and the planning and that must have gone into it. And then I think the crux for me, what is the most evil thing for me that she did, was she sat there and watched them eat it. Sat there, watched them eat that food. Now, thank God Ian survived, because it's Ian who testified, that she actually served it up on different plates. So it was clear, which beef Wellingtons she served it up. They were individual beef Wellingtons. That's quite unusual as well. It's not unheard of course. But instead of serving up one big beef Wellington, normally people take a slice of it. It was individual beef Wellingtons, and Erin's was on a different coloured plate, different size, different colour. She then sort of sat down at the table with them and watched them eat every mouthful. That's really quite, when you think about it, it's bad enough to kill someone in a fit of rage, isn't it? Or even to premeditate it. But to actually sit at dinner with them and watch them eat what is going to kill them. And then, I just imagine the farewells, was it like, oh, right, see you next week at church? Or was it kisses? Was it hugs? Knowing that these poor, there were elderly people, were dead people walking. She knew that as she said goodbye to them. She was at the dump, less than an hour later, dumping something, which was probably the plates, because the plates have never been found. You've got to be some kind of cruel, heartless killer to be able to do that, to actually sit and watch them eat every mouthful, knowing what's going to happen. Also, of course, at that dinner, that's where she told them she had cancer, which she didn't. And they all prayed for her. She sat there and let them pray for her. She was so sneery of them. It came out, didn't it, in the text messages, because Erin doesn't believe in God. She's an atheist, so she'd think they were ridiculous for believing in God. And she must have been sat there feeling so self-satisfied that she had, pulled the wool down over their eyes, not only just poisoned them and they were going to die, but they were praying for her because of the cancer she was supposed to have, but she didn't have. I mean, the more you think about it, the more breathtakingly callous it becomes, doesn't it? And of course, then later, she called Ian a liar, like the survivor who said about the different plates. She virtually called him a liar. She cast aspersions on everyone, didn't she? Just a really awful person, Erin Patterson. Just can't get even any more awful than her, can you? With this. And Simon didn't go to the lunch, so I think Simon was probably a desired target. I think there's a bit of that vengeance in this as well. For some reason, she hated Simon with a vengeance, which is strange. We don't really know why, because it seems that it was him who wanted to carry on the relationship. It was her who didn't want to carry on their marriage. But I think what Erin wanted was complete power and dominance over everybody. Erin is the queen bee. She likes to control what's going on. And when the family started, she wanted them on her side all the time. Maybe her husband, Simon, started seeing someone else. I don't know. Or maybe she could feel the power slipping. They weren't revering her like she expected to be revered. And of course, she was money bags, Erin. She had loads of money. She borrowed money or lent money, to some of Simon's family members. And that, again, is a means of control. We talked about that. I've known people like that. I think they're being really helpful, but actually what it is to get vice-like grip on you because you're beholden to them, because you owe them money. So the money doesn't matter to them. They've got plenty of money. So what matters is the power that it gives you over a person. Unfortunately, there are people like that. And I think Erin was like that. I think she lent that money to the family so she could be the queen bee, not out of the goodness of her heart. Anyway, whatever the reasons, she did, and I don't know what will happen to that money now. I think she lent the money to help with mortgages and things like that. Then, in my post, this is my own opinion, I think what happened was she felt like they weren't as grateful as she thought they should be. She was trying to get rid of Simon because she wanted complete control over her children. She's got 2 children with Simon. She wouldn't have wanted to share custody. He wasn't apparently paying any maintenance or whatever, which is wrong, of course, even though she had money. But, it wasn't a money issue. He still should have paid towards his children's upkeep, of course. He's the father. But yeah, Erin wanted it all, didn't she? She wanted the complete control. I think Erin is a total complete control freak, and that's basically what she did. And that's not much of a motive, and that was a big thing at the trial, wasn't it? Which went on for weeks, didn't it? Weeks and weeks and weeks. Big issue was, what is the motive? Because normally there is a clear motive, isn't it? If it is money, or if it is someone's having an affair, or maybe it was a custody issue, or maybe, but personally, I think it was spite. Erin's motive was spite, control. And I don't believe for a minute that she hadn't done anything like that ever before. I think I would not be surprised if tomorrow it has come out that she's likely tried to kill her husband before. But are there other things in Erin's past? She's a dark person, I think. Very deep, dark person. Puts on this front as if, suburban housewife. She's far from that. Everyone kept saying how clever she was. She was in crime groups, wasn't she? She was described as super sleuth. But she wasn't as clever as she thought she was she? Because she thought she could bamboozle the police. And anyway, she didn't. Thank God for that. So let's read what the nominees said about her. So one person said it was premeditated, organised. She watched on and witnessed her victims eat the poison mushrooms, and the method of killing caused great suffering to innocent, kindly, elderly in-laws. And she had planned to kill her ex as well. The arrogance of thinking she could get away with it and fool the police with her lies. All excellent reasons for nominating Erin. Somebody else said she is the most callous, calculating, spiteful human being ever for me, killing those beautiful, kind people who were always nice to her in the most horrific, twisted way. She killed them knowing their deaths would be slow, painful, horrific, and she thought she would get away with it. You have got to admire and respect the medical professionals involved for their diligence and care. Yeah, now, if the doctors wouldn't have been, and all the hospital staff wouldn't have been so switched on, would she have got away with it? I mean, she got a shock, didn't she, when very soon they said to her they thought it was death cap mushrooms, and they told her she should stay at the hospital because she might end up needing a transplant as well. And she discharged herself in 5 minutes so that she could go home and clear everything up and sort out her alibi and her, dispose of the dehydrator, etc. So, yeah, and then this person also adds, may poor Ian have the strength to live on without his beloved wife, and Don and Gail. So don't forget, Ian survived, but he lost his wife, Heather. They'd been childhood sweethearts, as had Don and Gail. One of the, these are couples that had been married like forever. Another person said, she is the most callous, calculating, spiteful human being ever for me, killing those beautiful, kind people who were always nice to her. And they were. God, they were nice to her, even though Simon really was their direct family, but they just were, for Erin, they weren't nice enough. They weren't bowing and scraping and worshipping her. They'd said they would act as mediators, hadn't they? And they would speak to Simon. And she didn't want that. She wanted them to say, no, you're right. Everything you say is right. Everything Simon says is wrong. That's why she got angry with them, in my opinion, because they didn't go along with everything she said. So she killed them knowing their deaths would be slow, painful and horrific. That's the other thing we mustn't forget here. These people did not just die, it wasn't, it's not like, oh, you have arsenic and you're dead in, or cyanide and you're dead in a minute or something. These people, it took them days to die. They were in agony. Their bodies died from the inside out. They went through hell. Because death cap mushrooms, they're slow working. So they started with nausea, I suppose, and feeling sick, being sick, diarrhea. And then before you knew it, they were in the hospital. And the hospital, in the end, had to put them in comas. And Heather and Gail did not survive that. Don was given a transplant. Heather and Gail were too ill to be given transplants. All their organs died inside them. Don was given a transplant, but he wasn't strong enough to survive. And Ian, he did survive. So this is what these death cap mushrooms, they're horrible. They kill you from the inside out, like an alien in your body, and it takes ages for the symptoms to manifest. So it is the most horrific murder, isn't it? Slow, painful, agonizing death. So that's why Erin definitely deserves the Twonk of the Year. And she thought she would get away with it, this person goes on to say. You've got to admire and respect the medical professionals involved for their diligence and care. May poor Ian have the strength to live on without his beloved wife and Don and Gail. So, yeah, that was the person before. So she killed them knowing their deaths would be slow, painful and horrific, and she thought she would get away with it. You've got to admire and respect the medical professionals. Oh, gosh, I'm reading the same one twice, sorry. Another person said she planned meticulously over many months. She had to go and harvest these mushrooms, dehydrate them, keep them, ready for when she was going to use them. It wasn't something that she just went out one Saturday morning and, foraged the mushrooms and then use them that day. This was planned for months, because these mushrooms only come out every now and again, and it had been mentioned, hadn't it, on the on the mushroom website. Remember, we had Fungi Tom at the trial saying about, on this sort of website, iNaturalist, I think it was called, announcing that he'd seen these mushrooms, because they only come out, I think, in a couple of times a year, and they're only found under oak trees. We looked into all that, and the playlist is still there up on my channel if you want to look into this case in any more depth. So, her reason: she planned meticulously over many months the murder of 3 family members, almost 4, because it's only by good luck, not judgment, that Ian is still alive. And the method of murder by way of poison is particularly calculating and callous. Now, a lot of women use poison as a method because it's just more common, I think. And it's a very horrible, because to plan that, I think that, the planning of it is almost as bad as the act, isn't it? Because, it wasn't a moment of madness. It was planned, organised and tried to be covered up. So, okay, so then another person said, Erin Patterson, for the diabolical murder of 3 elderly victims. She would have had 4 if one had miraculously pulled through. And any of these twonks, because they've nominated others as well, are worthy winners. With cold hearts like theirs, who needs a fridge freezer? True, isn't it? How cold can you be? And then another nomination, Erin, I nominate, and the reason is because she still can't tell the truth. And I think that's as good a reason as any, isn't it? So she, even now, she's putting Ian and the rest of the family through hell, because she can't just accept that she was lucky to get the sentence that she got, to get any chance at parole. Sorry, nearly finished now anyway. She still won't admit it. You know, she's putting them through the hell of an appeal. And the court case itself was bad enough because it went on and on and on, weeks and weeks and weeks. Luckily, as I say, the jury saw through her. She was found guilty relatively quickly, I think. It took a couple of days. She was the only, I think the other thing we have to remember about Erin, she was the only person who spoke in her defence. So her sister, what happened to her sister? No character witnesses. You know, no experts to back up anything that Erin herself was saying. You know, there was just her lying. I mean, is she mad? I mean, I don't know if that was her lawyer, Colin Mandy, who decided to put her on the stand. I think it's more likely it'd be Erin. Oh, no, I'm going to talk because believe me, because you know what, Erin, another thing is she asked for that trial to be in Leongatha, close to, you know, the area where they all lived, instead of going to the Supreme Court in Melbourne. And I think the reason, and that was her request, I think the reason she did that was because she thought she'd get people on the jury who were like Don and Gail, Heather and Ian, you know, naive people who would be susceptible to her lies. She completely underestimated them, like she underestimates everyone, because she thinks she's a typical psychopath, narcissist, sociopath, whatever you want to call her, because she's so supreme in her own belief in her own power, if you like, her own intelligence. She thought, oh yeah, let me talk to this jury, I'll soon win them over. You know, it's wonder, she probably was thinking, oh, I'll get all the jury praying for me by the end of it, like she did with the others at the lunch, telling them lies. So yeah, Erin's the winner. I think she's a hands down winner, really. And the more I've talked about it, you know, I think everybody agrees. So she had the most votes. Just awful. And yeah, I think the main points are the planning, the deliberation, the fact they were, you know, I think it makes it even worse that there's no motive. I mean, you know, just spite, nastiness, control, and yeah, lies. And even her own children, she virtually accused of lying because, you know, they testified for the prosecution really by video because things that she said, like she said she'd had this violent diarrhea and that, but of course it turned out she hadn't. Remember, she did that long trip the day after taking her son for flying classes, which of course you wouldn't do if you had an upset stomach. You wouldn't be getting in your car for an hour and a half each way or however long it took. And she said that she stopped on the way and she had to go to the loo in the bushes. But her son said he doesn't remember that. So, you know, then they stopped at a service station where she stopped for literally, was it 9 seconds or something? She went into the toilet and out again. Now, come on. You know, you couldn't go to the toilet in 9 seconds if you didn't have diarrhea. Never mind if you did. What did she dump in that toilet? She definitely dumped something. Some evidence, who knows what it was that will have got, but of course that did not get discovered immediately, so nobody knows what she dropped off in that toilet. You couldn't even have a wee, could you, in 9 seconds, for God's sake. And we could see that Erin was wearing white trousers as well, which I don't think you would be doing if you had an upset tummy that you had she said she had explosive diarrhea. You're not going to go out in white trousers, and you're certainly not going to go for a drive for an hour and a half. It's not an emergency. Discharged herself from the hospital after 5 minutes. Said she had to go home. So she'd just been told that she had, a chance that she might need a transplant because the rest of her family was so very poorly. And she discharged herself and said she had to sort out her daughter's ballet bag and sort the animals out. Now, the best will in the world, you're not going to be worrying about your daughter's ballet bag. Also, the kids themselves reputedly, according to her, had leftovers from this beef Wellington. So if she was genuinely innocent, she would be, you'd be terrified, wouldn't you, for your children's sake? And you would be like, oh my God, get my, because she sort of avoided the children going into the hospital, etc., to be tested. So everything is just wrong. So do you agree? Let me know in comments. Do you agree with Erin being Twonk of the Year? Is there anybody else maybe you would have mentioned or would like to mention? Now it's too late to go in for the Twonk of the Year, but just in case, leave your comments as always. And Happy New Year. Thank you for all your support. It means the world to me, really. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. And we'll put the New Year video on to finish. Thank you. Bye.
Oh, you Vicki Marie, you're so dream, you're so bold. Your YouTube world is the purest gold. With every video, fresh and new, you light my days with joy so true. Oh, Vicki Marie, your voice, your charm, your spark, your flair, keep me glued beyond compare. From laughs to lessons, all you share. No other channel shines so rare. The comments buzz, your face